All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, man. And even though I'm Mr. Optimistic, we have a few things we got to talk about today, man. It's like hand on shoulder type of talk today, man. Like, hey, it may not be pretty, but I got to talk to y'all this evening and let you know everything that's going down. Terry McLaurin has already been ruled out, and there's even discussions about should we shut him down for 2025. We're going to dive into where even all of that came from, because it's pretty interesting. Something to watch out for. Also, do the Washington Commanders have a plan for Treylon Burks? Dan Quinn said yes. Does that mean he'll play as soon as this upcoming game against the Cowboys Sunday afternoon that I will be live streaming? We got to dive into that. Also, Deebo Samuel, will he even play? We know Terry's out. Right now, Deebo Samuel's kind of 50-50. We're going to dive into that and whether I think he will play against the Cowboys or not. And then, of course, we have full-blown Friday injury updates for the rest of the Commanders team, but also the Cowboys. The Cowboys are getting back a big piece to their offense, but they also lost a big piece to their defense. Do they cancel out? We're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Appreciate y'all for supporting the videos, man. Shouts out to my Watch to the End gang, man. Y'all are the goats. Shouts out to my late night crew, man. Of course, I'm recording this at 2:46 a.m. Y'all will probably be getting this by 4 a.m. So shouts out to the Vampire Hours, the late night shift, and of course, shouts out the Noti gang as well. Those of y'all that have that bell next to the subscription button, stiff armed in, and are here as soon as I release the videos. I'm still like behind the scenes working on a couple of things, and y'all are already watching and liking the videos, man. So y'all are goated as well. But let's go ahead and dive into everything right now instead of wasting even more of y'all time, man. Let's get it. Adam. And I'm assuming most people click this video for Terry McLaurin, so that's who we're going to talk about first. Terry McLaurin, let's go ahead and get this out the way, even though this is going to take up a nice chunk of the video. But still, you kind of want to go ahead and get this out the way because this one doesn't feel that good. It feels like throughout this Terry McLaurin discussion that we're about to have, it's going to be bad news, and then we're going to be debating whether it's worse news or worse than that or worst news. Like, we're going from bad, and we're trying to hope that it's only bad and not worse or worst with a T at the end, man. Like, that's the type of situation that we have going on with Terry McLaurin. Nothing's really good coming from this, but let's dive into it because Terry McLaurin has already been ruled out for Sunday's game versus the Cowboys. Terry McLaurin has now missed 4 games in a row, bro. And you're going to see some clips that Ben Standig uploaded of Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel out there at the start of practice earlier today. Well, technically Friday, October 17th. They were out there, including Terry McLaurin. Like, Terry McLaurin was out there doing some light movement stuff, and apparently he practiced limited on Wednesday. Dan Quinn promised us, hey, this guy is going to practice this week. He said that back on like Wednesday. Then he went out there and was limited on Wednesday, and then he didn't practice at all for the rest of the week. So technically Dan Quinn didn't lie. You know what I'm saying? He said Terry would practice this week. I don't remember him specifically saying that Terry McLaurin's going to practice every day this week. He did practice. He was just limited Wednesday, and then DNP Thursday, DNP Friday, and of course he's not playing. But again, you just saw the clips from Ben Standig of Terry running around a little bit. But what's really crazy is that Terry missed only a total of 3 games in his first 6 seasons in the league, entering this season with 4 straight years playing all 17 games. Now he'll miss his 4th straight game this season alone after being ruled out Sunday versus Dallas. Like, this is uncharted territory for us ever since Terry McLaurin has been on the burgundy and gold, bro. Again, he missed 3 games his first 6 seasons. Now he's already missed 4 immediately after he gets the big time paycheck and immediately after he turns 30. And a lot of people are throwing other factors in there that I'm not going to dive into and acknowledge, but it's a lot of things that changed from last year to this year. But either way, shouts out to the classified WFT. He pointed out the fact that Terry's on pace for 596 yards this season based off of if he even plays this upcoming game after the Cowboys game against the Kansas City Chiefs. His 1,000-yard streak is likely over. I mean, I thought once he missed 1 game, it was probably over. He barely even gets it. I mean, like, what was it, 2020, he had 1,118 yards, so he really got that one. But in 2021, he barely got it at 1,053. 2022, he had 1,191 yards, so he firmly got it. 2023, he had 1,002 yards. He super barely made it. And again, that was him playing in every game that season. And even last year with Terry McLaurin, playing in every game that season, he had 13 touchdowns, but he had 1,096 receiving yards. He's always barely making it. And so far, he only has 149 receiving yards. I'm pretty sure he's not going to make it because, again, he's had seasons where if he even just missed one game, he wouldn't have made it. Now he's missed 4 already. So, again, assuming that he plays next week, he would need to average 95 yards per game for the last 9 games to reach 1,000 yards on the season. And, I mean, technically it's possible. You know, it'd be nice if we fed him just like the Bengals with Joe Flacco fed Jamar Chase to the point where he had like 15 catches and they just kept throwing it to him. Like, just forget it. We don't care if y'all know we're going to throw it to him. We're still going to throw it to him. He's going to make plays, bro. He had like 18 targets for 15 catches. Something crazy. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember watching that game while we were doing the Commanders Kings, and it was just insane how much they were spamming them. So technically, it's humanly possible. It's just not the Terry McLaurin or really the burgundy and gold way, I would honestly say at this point. And shouts out to my boy Jamal Etlet Martella. He brings up a great point. In 4 weeks, it's going to be weeks 11 and 12. So we're talking about 4 to 5 games left after that. My bet is that this season for the trio is going to be an unfortunate dud because I don't see Terry nor Noah coming back and immediately hitting the ground running even when they do come back. And to be honest, if they come back at all. And that's an interesting point. We're definitely going to dive into that later about, like, is it time to really like shut this guy down? Marshall brought up a great point too. They said, I'm starting to have my doubts we see Terry McLaurin at all this year. First opinion may have been a surgical recommendation that may not be able to be avoided. Remember, that was that whole hip flexor thing and like he may be out for 3 months and stuff like that we were worried about. And then the Commanders are like, nah, we're not going to put him on IR because we think that's actually a wrong assessment of his injury. He may be able to come back sooner than that. It's sounding like it's that bad. Again, we're going to get into that later and where all of this shut down Terry McLaurin stuff for the season came from. But shouts out to Burgundy Blog. He said McLaurin spent the summer arguing that age is just a number. 30 wouldn't hit him like everyone else. He proceeded to sustain a vague, unnameable hip alignment on a light tackle in the 3rd game of the season, and a month later he's still doing calisthenics. I thought that was hilarious, but it's an interesting point. Shouts out to Mike Hall. He said, and people wonder why the team set it up that they could basically get out of the deal after 2026 if they want to. I know a lot of people were angry with Adam Peters and the way that he handled the offseason, but now you pretty much see why. Of course, you don't want to ever look at things that way. We love Terry on and off the field, but business is business, and there's a reason they set up his contract the way that it is. And it's looking like, hopefully he can turn it around and we don't even get to that point. But they have the contract set in a way so if they need to escape, if they need to hit the red eject button, they can. Shouts out to Disco too, though. I completely agree with this. He said, I just want Terry to get healthy, man. All of this jibber jabber about whether to extend him and how he handled the offseason is moot at this point. That man has caught hospital balls his entire career here and was a big reason we even made it to the NFC Championship game last year. I'm giving him grace. I am as well. But now moving on, Dan Quinn even addressed the situation, talking about Terry McLaurin. He said that McLaurin is working hard to come back, but it's, quote, just not ready yet, unquote. He said it's difficult to monitor with soft tissue injuries, and, quote, it's frustrating, but he's closer, unquote. Now, of course, he's closer. You know what I'm saying? He's closer now than what he was weeks ago. Obviously, every day he's potentially getting closer unless he has a setback, so that doesn't mean anything. The problem is he close? I don't care about if he's closer. Is he close at all? That's my thing. But shouts out to Dan Quinn, for keeping it political, keeping it very vanilla with his responses. And then he talked about in regards to Terry McLaurin, did they not want to put him on IR at the same time of the injury because there was a chance after 2 to 3 weeks that he'd be okay? That was the whole logic. He also factored in the fact that Terry McLaurin had not been injured much in his career, so they figured, hey, man, maybe this is something he can bounce back from very quickly again. So the full-blown quote is, quote, I think the easy question is, well, why not IR? Well, 2 ways. You don't want to go there if he's back earlier, and then all of a sudden, week 2 or 3, you're like, man, that's there. So it's a fine balance when you're in the right space. They're not just as easy as, hey, no matter what, this is 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And when it's really a longer one, that makes those decisions easier. But for a player with his speed, that's the part that's difficult. He hasn't been injured a lot, thank goodness, so learning how to go, where it is, what it feels like. For speed, it's just different. I'm not playing guard or defensive tackle where those are things that you can work yourself through. At receiver and corner in spots like that, that's a lot harder, unquote. So basically saying the nature of his position is also why. The nature of his injury, with it being a soft tissue injury, and the nature of his position requiring him to run as fast as humanly possible and to have to put to use that 4.3 something speed that he ran. That's the reason he's been out so long. Basically saying, like, if he were a defensive lineman, maybe he would have already been back and he probably could have just fought through the pain or whatever. But with him having to make sharp cuts and stuff like that, they don't want this injury to potentially get even worse than what it already is. And if you care, here's 1 minute and 43 seconds of Dan Quinn talking about Terry McLaurin. If you don't care about this, if you don't care to hear Dan Quinn talk about it, I pretty much gave you the gist of everything already. If you don't want to hear this, just skip ahead 1 minute and 43 seconds from now.
So those are the guys there. I figured we're only going to rule one player out, give you the injury update. So that'll be Terry. And as far as everyone else, we'll kind of work through tomorrow to get there. And then heading into the game, we hit a bunch this week on our complimentary ball, the things that we're going to do to really be, our best and most aggressive, right from the beginning. So those are a couple of topics, and get rocking with you guys.
What did Deebo, what was he able to do today?
Yeah, so he was able to get reps today, and that was the plan, to see where he'd ramp up, and so it was nice to see him, kind of get the full complement of stuff today.
Terry, at one point you thought he was going to practice more this week, and then you did was it a workout with him? What happened there? What aren't you guys seeing with him?
Yeah, and it's frustrating for him because he's working at it hard, and with an injury like this, this is a speed player, and so on movements where you're jogging or not, fully there, it's just not ready yet. And that sometimes happens, when you have a soft tissue injury and you're wanting it to get there, but you have to push it at the top speeds. And so sometimes, John, that's an acceleration. Sometimes it's decel, how hard you have to plant and turn. So, like I said, he's working at it hard. He's frustrated, but we're closer. And as we've been going week to week, it can be difficult on a injury that you have to test and push at high speed. And you need volume at it, you need reps at it, and it's good to see him running routes and doing that. But once we kind of got to that space, we're just not all the way there yet.
And shouts out to Mike Hall, he brings up a good point, talking about how Terry is frustrated, but his body isn't just ready to go. And then Mike Hall said, it's almost like the older you get, the longer it takes for your body to recover from injury. Who would have thought? That's an interesting point right there. Also, shouts out to Grant Paulson. He said another interesting thing about Terry McLaurin's injury is that he hasn't spoken with the media since he got hurt. No pressers, no updates from the player himself in the 26 days since he got hurt. And that's it. I've mainly brought that up just for the fact that he calculated exactly how many days it's been since Terry McLaurin's been gone. And that is crazy because, again, that's never happened before. We've never had Terry miss 4 weeks of football in a row in his NFL career. Again, before this season, he had missed 3 games total, not even in a row. So this is weird, interesting territory. Now, speaking of weird, interesting territory, now we're getting into the discussions of he may have to be shut down for the year. Shouts out to Ryan Cooley at Cooley Takes. He said, we went from Terry might miss 1 or 2 games to he might be done for the year. And then he posted like a meme of somebody like absolutely going crazy, going ballistic. And I feel him because shouts out to Rio Robinson. He had his Commanders Inside of Lake Lewis that they do a weekly show. Make sure you go subscribe to Rio Robinson and Lake Lewis's channels and support them as well. But Lake Lewis on Rio Robinson's channel, like he is every week, talked about how Terry McLaurin could potentially end up getting shut down. He said, quote, I don't see him ready over the next 2 games. So I don't know what Lake Lewis is seeing. Again, he's a guy that's at the practices. He is a Commanders reporter, insider, media credentials, all of that. He's there at the practices. He's there around the facilities. Whatever he's seeing, even though Dan Quinn is making it seem like he should be back soon, Lake Lewis is saying, quote, again, I don't see him ready over the next 2 games. If he doesn't play against Kansas City, we're going to really start asking the question, does he need to shut it down for the rest of the year? And then shouts out to Rio Robinson. He also mentioned that Terry McLaurin has been added to IR notification, going to hit the fan base like Pearl Harbor if he is not a full go next week versus Kansas City. And that's an interesting point, bro. I do agree that this Kansas City game, after this Cowboys game, that's like the marker right there to really see, like, okay, if Terry doesn't play in that game, yeah, we're starting to discuss maybe he's just done for the season. Maybe he just made out like a bandit, got paid, and then just dipped out on us. Of course, it wasn't on purpose, but I mean, my main thing is the craziest part about all of this, when you think about the fact that we are even in this situation because he allowed himself to get shoestring tackled from behind again. He kept doing that all last year. You know how many touchdowns he missed out on because he allowed somebody to dive at his feet last second before he reached the end zone? That is the thing that we kept screaming at him about to fix all last season during the season. And then we got into the offseason and was screaming at him again to fix it. And now, granted, Mariota could have let him a little bit more on the throw that ended up getting Terry McLaurin hurt, where the guy pulled his ankle while he's trying to dive for the touchdown. But now, this propensity for getting tackled from behind has led the Commanders fan base to turning on him more than I've ever seen, bro. It's even worse now than during the holdout in the contract negotiations. This fan base is done with Terry McLaurin. It was like 50-50 during the contract stuff. It feels like 80-20 right now, man. It's ugly, man. I'm still rocking with the boy, but most of the fan base has had it up to here, bro. And again, all you had to do, Terry, was hit the high knees or run a little faster, and we wouldn't even be in this situation right now, bro. Terry McLaurin being healthy is maybe just enough of a difference to where we even beat the Bears, bro. We've lost a lot of games with several times this season already with very small margins of error, bro. We haven't just gotten like completely whooped by like double digits yet, bro. And Terry McLaurin being healthy could have been the difference to where maybe we're even undefeated at this point. You know what I'm saying? You just never know. I feel like the Packers game was pure obliteration, and I feel like the Falcons game, man, that one, I mean, our defense couldn't get a stop no matter what. So even if Terry were healthy, maybe that one doesn't matter. But that Bears game, I would love to believe that a guy that we're paying $30 million a year makes enough of a difference to where we end up somehow winning that game, losing by what, 1 point or something like that, 2 points at most. I mean, that's just insane. But it's funny because even the offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury himself, is throwing shots at Terry, bro. He's done it multiple times since training camp, but just a couple of days ago, he did it again. Here's a quick 25-second clip of Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, of course, he's keeping it very general and ambiguous, but you can tell like this has to be towards Terry McLaurin, because who else is it pointed towards? I guess you can maybe include Noah Brown in there, but this is more so a Terry McLaurin shot right here. Again, 25 seconds of Cliff Kingsbury.
We haven't consistently been able to practice as a unit, you know, since training camp started, and I think that's where maybe some of the inconsistency is showing up, particularly on third downs. It just seems like we're a little bit off, but as a play caller, you just adapt to the personnel, and our staff has done a great job getting those guys ready to play, and the guys are making plays when they have been called upon, and so it's been cool to see those guys step up and make plays.
Now let's move on to Deebo Samuel real quick, because now we got to dive into the fact that we already know Terry is out. Again, the Terry discussion is, we already know he's out versus the Cowboys. Is he potentially going to be out against the Kansas City Chiefs? Is he potentially out for the season? Like, that's the Terry McLaurin discussion. At least Deebo Samuel is like, well, maybe he still has a chance to play this upcoming weekend, Sunday afternoon against the Cowboys. Well, Deebo Samuel even said it himself in his press conference, his media scrum after practice, that his heel is aggravating for sure. And when asked about playing on Sunday, he said, quote, "We'll just have to see," unquote. And Dan Quinn even said that Deebo Samuel was able to get reps in today, as in Friday, October 17th in practice. So, of course, that's a great sign. Terry McLaurin did some walkthrough stuff, but he ended up not actually even really practicing much. Deebo practiced more than Terry McLaurin did. So, at least that's some positive news right there. Deebo Samuel, after practice, asked, how is he feeling? He said, quote, "I'm all right," unquote. On what it's been like playing with the heel injury, quote, "It's aggravating for sure," unquote. And on if there's any doubt about his availability for Sunday, quote, "We'll just have to see," unquote. Those are the exact words from him. And I think he'll end up playing, but the problem is he played against the Bears, but he was a shell of himself. You could tell that he was hurt. He looked slower. He looked timid. And so even if he does play against the Cowboys, are we even getting the Deebo Samuel that we would get in the first few weeks when he was healthy? We'll have to see. And then also, Denton Day brings up a good point that with Terry McLaurin being listed out and Deebo Samuel's availability in question, the Commanders are now underdogs +1 against the Cowboys. We were just a -2 advantage over the Cowboys prior to Friday, October 17th, when all of this news came out. As soon as Terry McLaurin is officially listed as out, as soon as Deebo Samuel was starting to question, he's listed as questionable and stuff like that, we immediately become the underdogs, bro. We went from the favorites -2 to the underdogs +1, just simply because of those updates right there. Now, before we get into the rest of this video, and I got to update y'all on all of the other injury updates that we have, like Samuel Cosmi, Jonathan Jones, and especially we got to talk about this Cowboys side as well, because again, they had a huge addition, but they also had a pretty big loss, and the loss is weird, bro. The loss is like, it didn't even happen with football. It's scary that it happened at his house. So we're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we get there, shouts out to Sleeper, man. Football is a full go. We are nearly through the month of October already, man. Time is flying by a little too fast. I know the season feels a little ugly, especially with where we're at right now, and especially after that loss we just suffered. But, bro, I'm telling y'all, y'all are going to miss football when it's not here. And while it's here, with Sleeper, you have a chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Washington football, man, once we get our guys back, I'm telling y'all, we are going to go on a run. And you can pick on stats for stars like Jaden Daniels and, you know, Deebo Samuel when he gets back healthy. Bill, I'm telling you, there's no way Bill gets shut down for 2 games in a row. And you can pick on stats for these guys like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. And right now, as you can see on the screen, new users can even get a free $20 without a deposit on top of the up to 100% match for up to $100 on your first deposit using promo code SCORE, that's SCORE, or you can just click the link at the top of the description of this video and every video on live stream I'm doing all season, man. Shouts out to Sleeper. And just to dive into some picks real quick, I'm still working on my major 8-leg that I really want to get to y'all, where I think, hey man, we're about to make some big money here. I gave y'all one last night, but I want to do another one before the game start on Sunday. But I went to the NFL popular duos. This one was the one that the most people bet on, so I had to investigate it and see what's going on. Well, Jonathan Taylor, man, I mean, he does get touchdowns. He's only had, it was week 1 and week 4, the only games that he did not have a touchdown this season. I think he gets one against the Chargers, bro. Remember, Bill had 2 touchdowns against the Chargers. I think Jonathan Taylor, who's honestly statistically playing like the best running back in the NFL this year, I think he can get at least 1 against the Chargers. And then Saquon Barkley, bro. I know it's been a down season, but how many times can people just really focus on shutting him down? Saquon Barkley is too talented to just keep getting shut down the way that he is. And mind you, even with the down season, he's only not had any touchdown in week 3 and week 6. Other than that, he's had at least 1 touchdown every game. I think he can get one against the Minnesota Vikings. And if you put 10 on this, you can end up winning 23, or you could put 24 and win 46. Or if you're really boldy, you want to put 100, you can get back 232. And all you need is for Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley to get any touchdown. It could be receiving, it could be rushing, or whatever. So I thought this was a pretty interesting one right here. I can see why this is the most popular duo on Sleeper right now. And again, shouts out to Sleeper. Now let's get back to this video. Now, how about the rest of the wide receiver room? Before we even dive into the rest of the injuries for the entire team, you know, we have Robbie Chosen on the practice squad. We signed Treylon Burks to the practice squad. You know, you have this whole Tate Martin situation we're about to dive into soon, and how Treylon Burks basically cancels him out and stuff like that. But we have other receivers, Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey. Like, what's the wide receiver room looking like right now? Well, Dan Quinn said that the team is excited for Treylon Burks, and they need him to take time to get up to speed, but they have a plan for him. So, you know, those are 2 big things right there, I feel like. They need him to take some time to get up to speed, which sounds like, you know, conditioning physically, but also learning the playbook wise. I think it's highly unlikely that he plays as soon as this upcoming game against the Cowboys this Sunday, but I think he will play against the Kansas City Chiefs the week after that. We'll see. But the fact that Dan Quinn said they have a plan for him is great news. This is a guy that, coming out of the draft, a lot of people said that he would be an even better version of A.J. Brown. Again, like I've talked about in several videos the past couple of weeks, since we brought him in for a visit, since we signed him, I told y'all, the whole Titans thinking, now granted the Titans aren't the smartest NFL franchise doing it, but their thinking was we could trade away A.J. Brown because we could just simply draft a better version of A.J. Brown and Treylon Burks in the first round immediately afterwards. Now, he hasn't worked out to be that at all. And you can honestly blame injuries for the most of that. You can blame quarterback play for a lot of that. You can also blame him for some of that as well. Even when he has been available, he still hasn't been very effective, but the talent is for sure there. The tape doesn't lie. And Speaking of quarterbacks, I mean, he's never played with a guy anywhere near Jaden Daniels' level. You're talking about Titans version of Malik Willis. Not even the Green Bay Packers pulling up and playing in place of Jordan Love because of injuries, Malik Willis. We're talking about Titans Malik Willis that was horrible. We're talking about Will Levis that's already got benched and led the Titans to drafting Cam Ward with the first overall pick. Like, those are the quarterbacks that Treylon Burks has been playing with. So once he finally is caught up to speed, learning the playbook, I'm actually pretty optimistic about what he can contribute to this team on offense, especially with Jaden Daniels as a quarterback, Cliff Kingsbury as his offensive coordinator, bro. Some people have said that he could be our version of Drake London. Again, coming out of the draft, a lot of people compared him to being basically a more agile version of A.J. Brown. Take A.J. Brown, but shiftier, basically. And so we'll see. I mean, I highly doubt he'll become that, you know what I'm saying? But again, if it's possible anywhere, with Jaden Daniels here, it is. But shouts out to Dan Quinn talking about Treylon Burks right here in a 38-second clip. If you want to skip it, go ahead and skip it.
From Adam's side of scouting, we're excited. The coaches were excited. So he had a couple of trips that he's went to visit, and we just wanted to lay out, hey man, this is what it would look like here and how we would feature you to go. So we're very excited. Today was like he came for a workout, but today was my first day spending a lot of time with him. And we're very excited. And so he'll go kind of the same process that Robbie went through a couple weeks ago, just the extra work to get there and learn it. And, like that's what it's all about as this chapter's and starting from here. I'm really pumped that he's part of it.
But Ben Standig also let us know that the summary of basically everything that went down yesterday, October 17th, Terry McLaurin Quad and Deebo Samuel Hill were there at the beginning of practice wearing jerseys, but not with helmets. Deebo was running on the side field. Again, Deebo ended up doing more than Terry, and Terry's already been declared out. But Dorrance Armstrong was out there, not dressed, but at least he was out there. That was interesting. But also, Treylon Burks was there, and Treylon Burks is now wearing Tay Martin's former number, and it looks like Tay Martin will more than likely not be re-signed. Washington made it official with signing wide receiver Treylon Burks to the practice squad and releasing Tay Martin off of the practice squad, because remember, we already elevated him off the practice squad the maximum amount of times, 3 times this season. And so it's like you either got to sign him to the 53-man roster officially, which means you got to cut somebody else to make room for him, or you have to release him. Now, granted, maybe he somehow ends up back on here somehow, but right now Tay Martin is officially a free agent. Of course, it's not all boo-hoos, but he did make a couple of catches for us in the games that he did play for us, so we'll see what happens there. But of course, this is all because of Treylon Burks, and Treylon Burks will take over Tay Martin's number 13. He used to wear number 16 for the Titans. 13 does look at least a little bit better. Number 16 is crazy. I don't know why that looks so ugly. But either way, Chad Johnson, like I talked about in my video last night, talking about how he wanted to work with Treylon Burks in the offseason. When literally the NFL announced Treylon Burks is expected to sign to the Commanders practice squad, Chad Ochocinco quote tweeted that and said, I want to work with Young Bull in the offseason. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, of course, that doesn't necessarily help us right now, but maybe Jaden Daniels could get Treylon Burks started, getting him looking better than he's ever looked with the Titans. And then in the offseason, he can work with Chad Johnson after we re-sign him. And then maybe we have something here to where we got a sneaky first-round talent way later on sale, and it ends up working. But again, right now, that doesn't matter because 2026, that's too far. I'm still trying to make it to the playoffs. I still have Super Bowl hopes. And it's not just me, too. Like, I know a lot of Commanders fans are looking at me crazy because I know a lot of y'all are pessimistic, but I have I'm working on a video now with all of like the power rankings right now, and some people still have us like several different places. National analysts and neutral experts have us still in the Super Bowl contenders column, like somewhere in the top 10 of NFL teams right now. So right now, again, my main point is Treylon Burks, we need you to ball out now. We can't wait till you train with Chad Ochocinco in the offseason and start balling out. We need you right now this year. But shouts out to Seawall Sports. She said she spent her entire time outside during the media viewing of practice watching new Commanders wide receiver Treylon Burks. She didn't say what came of it, but she kept an eye on him the whole time. Hopefully it was something good. I feel like if it was something immaculate, maybe she would have told us. Or if anything, maybe the opposite. Maybe if he was horrible, it would have been easier to just go ahead and tweet, yeah, he doesn't look ready. But the fact that she's quiet, maybe that means that he did look better out there than what we expected. Again, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Who knows what it is? But shouts out to Sleeper Washington. He brings up a good point. Right now, Commanders wide receivers, Terry McLaurin out for Sunday. Noah Brown IR out a minimum of 4 games. Deebo Samuel we'll just have to see against the Cowboys. And then you just have Luke McCaffrey goated. Right now, Luke McCaffrey is our best healthy receiver right now, which is insane, but Jalen Lane's showing some potential as well. But again, now with Tay Martin even gone, and I'm pretty sure Treylon Burks doesn't know the playbook enough to play against the Cowboys on Sunday, it's looking a lot like a lot of Jalen Lane, a lot of Luke McCaffrey, some Chris Moore, some more sadly, and maybe even a Robbie Chosen debut, bro. But this wide receiver room is crazy because, again, you don't even have Tay Martin yet, man. I mean, maybe Treylon Burks has to be activated. Maybe he doesn't play much. Maybe he only plays like a handful of snaps or less. But, I mean, at this point, what receivers do we even have available to throw out there? So maybe Treylon Burks will be out there. I mean, going Commanders, Mark Phillips over there brings up a great point. The Commanders tend to be cautious with bringing people onto the field immediately after they sign them. But if Terry and Deebo can't go, then, hey, man, we just need guys. We just need bodies, bro. So we'll see. And he's the type of guy that, with his athleticism, you can get him the ball on screens and he can make something shake. He's shown the ability to catch deep balls even in contested situations. So even if he doesn't necessarily know the playbook that well, and I wouldn't want him out there, I know Cliff Kingsbury wouldn't want him out there blocking as a receiver with our heavy, really potent run game outside of that Bears game. So he probably wouldn't touch the field much, but maybe he'll get on the field. We'll see. Again, I highly doubt he plays against the Cowboys, and if he does, I'm letting you know right now, he's pretty much never going to be out there on a run play, because especially if he doesn't know the run game at all, he doesn't know how this coaching staff wants him to block and stuff like that. I don't expect him to be out there at all, especially after how horrible we were against the Bears. Pretty sure Cliff Kingsbury is going to be very strict with how they utilize the run game this upcoming game against the Cowboys. But Grant Paulson also brings up a great point, though. The Commanders' offense is obviously worse without Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown, and a hindered Deebo is a killer. But they would have scored 34 points with very little production from those guys, if not for 2 turnovers in range of scores last week. And the expectation should absolutely still be that they can move the ball and score points against that really bad Cowboys defense, basically no matter who they have at wide receiver. They should run it effectively and scheme up a quality passing game. Again, especially since you have Jaden Daniels at quarterback. I even have stats, I'm working on a video like that as well, that's showing you that Jaden Daniels is still playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I literally have the charts to show you. Like, he's technically an MVP candidate right now, even still. But shouts out to Mike Hall. He said, I get Terry not being out there is a big deal, but why are we acting like they aren't top 7 in points in the NFL, top 7 offense overall, without all of these guys like Terry McLaurin and even Deebo banged up, Noah Brown not playing games as well? He said the defense has been the problem, and I completely agree. We're so worried about the wide receivers, and yes, this wide receiver situation is horrible, but the defense has been the way bigger problem. Shouts out to Deuce Red Zone. He said wide receiver Terry McLaurin needs to hurry back so Wagner can suddenly learn how to cover crossers. That's what he was paid for, and he needs to honor that. I thought that was hilarious, but that's a good point. So many people are so focused on the offense being bad, and what are we going to do with all of our receivers out? Jaden Daniels is going to put up 20-something points no matter the defense and no matter what receivers he has at his disposal. The problem is the defense, dog, more than anything else, so I completely agree with that. Now let's dive into how about the rest of the team feels with the injury updates. Well, first of all, Dan Quinn talked about Samuel Cosmi, and he said that, quote, had a really good week, unquote. And he said that they meet the staff later on tonight, which probably already happened now, because again, I'm up at Vampire Hours. They probably had that meeting just a few hours ago, and in that meeting, they will discuss what it'll look like as far as Samuel Cosmi playing on Sunday. He said that both Cosmi and Jonathan Jones had a good week in practice, and neither were ruled out for a return potentially against the Cowboys. Maybe we get both of those guys back. We'll see. And again, they're going to discuss it. They already did probably earlier tonight. Now, shouts out to Commanders Wire, and shouts out to Ivan Lambert of Commanders Wire. He brings up great points. He said, head coach Dan Quinn met with the media earlier Friday and took questions. After declaring that wide receiver Terry McLaurin would not be available for Sunday against the Cowboys, Quinn was asked about Samuel Cosmi, who's yet to play this season. Again, he's been out since January. Cosmi has been in heavy rehab mode for months, recovering from a torn ACL in the playoff win against the Detroit Lions in January. Not ruling out a return by Cosmi, Quinn was very clear. He was not going to lean one way or the other during his press conference. He was rather neutral, stating that Cosmi, quote, had a really good week, unquote, like we already talked about, and that there would be a meeting later today, which again probably already happened, where they would discuss whether Cosmi would make his return in Dallas against the Cowboys. And even continuing from that, Quinn is usually quite the positive person. That's a good point by Ivan. And if Quinn knew Cosmi was ready, one would be reasonable to conclude that Quinn would have had a difficult time not being pumped about Cosmi being back in the lineup on Sunday. The head coach is usually pumped about someone or something and likes informing the media and fan base that he is pumped about stuff. He does use that word a lot. That is a great point. So I think, again, especially with Samuel Cosmi's window not ending, he's not required to be activated onto the actual 53-man roster or upgraded into the 53-man roster until shortly after this Cowboys game. And we may wait until then. He'll probably make his debut against the Kansas City Chiefs, just to let you know. So we'll see how that goes. And then also, if you look on the screen right now, here's the official injury report for the Commanders going into this Cowboys game Sunday afternoon. Along with Terry McLaurin that's ruled out, of course, you also have Deebo Samuel, Dorrance Armstrong, my fault, hamstring injury, didn't participate all week. That is scary, bro. Very scary. Again, we're talking about the wide receiver room. What about this edge rusher room, bro? You already lost Dietrich Wise and Javonte Jean-Baptiste to season-ending injuries. And then Preston Smith looks bad. Von Miller can't set an edge. You don't want him out there and run defense at all. I mean, the edge rusher group is ugly. And now Dorrance Armstrong, who's 5th in the NFL in sacks, is potentially, he's questionable, but I don't like his chances of playing against the Cowboys. It's a really ugly situation, man. That's our only really consistent getting pressure on the quarterback guy on the team right now, bro. He's the only guy out there getting sacks consistently. I would love if Joe Wood Jr. started to utilize Frankie Louvu better and more like how he used them last year as far as getting pressure on the quarterback and getting sacks. But, man, Dorrance Armstrong, man, not having him would be horrible for this defense. This edge rusher situation, an overall defense, is a way scarier situation than this offense, even without Terry or Deebo. And I think Deebo will play. Even if he's not 100%, I think he will play against the Cowboys. But even if he didn't play, Terry, Deebo, and Noah Brown out are not as bad as with this defense, especially with all of these edge rushes that we potentially have out. Dorrance Armstrong, though, granted, he got hurt against the Bears, came back into the game, got a sack, and then they ended up pulling him again. And so we'll see. Maybe even though he didn't practice all week, maybe he'll still play. And, of course, Samuel Cosmi and Jonathan Jones practice full all week, but it's about coming back and ramping up from not playing in live action. So it's not even like rehab for those guys. It's more so getting their bodies back ready for NFL level contact. Everybody else is some sort of like rehab. Like, are they healthy from the injuries that they sustained? Those guys are more so trying to work their bodies back up ready for the NFL level of physicality. Then you have, of course, Zach Ertz with a shoulder and calf injury. He didn't participate Wednesday, full participant on Thursday, and then he was limited Friday, but I think he'll still play. And then Deebo Samuel did not participate Wednesday nor Thursday, but was limited Friday, questionable. We'll see where he goes there. And then everybody else is good to go. Like, you had Ale Cajo dealing with an illness. He's good to go. Jaden Daniels good to go. Chris Rodriguez good to go. And somebody that's slept on, that's not even on this report right now, Eddie Goldman, missed the game against the Bears with an illness. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we got obliterated in the run game with him out. We had Jalen Holmes and Johnny Newton in there as your defensive tackles on certain plays. And that's obviously going to be an 8-yard run minimum up the middle if you do that. I like their pass rush ability and their ability to get in the backfield, especially getting after the quarterback. But holding up against multiple offensive linemen, bro, and trying to make a stop in the run game, I don't like that too much. So we need Eddie Goldman back as soon as possible. I think getting him back is going to be huge versus the Cowboys. And of course, Drake Jackson, the Commanders are playing the long game. I like the fact that they signed him, even though they ended up signing him and putting him on IR immediately. This is a guy that later on down the line, maybe he can help this horrible edge rusher situation that we're in right now. And then before we move on to the whole Cowboy side of the injury report, because they have a lot of stuff going on too as well. Like, we have more outs and more guys on like IR and stuff like that, but they have so many questionables. But before we get there, man, shouts out to BRUNT Workwear, man. They rocking with the kid, and y'all should rock with them back. That's love for love. And even beyond that, man, these shoes are tough, extra comfortable, very customizable. Like, for example, these are the Marin boots that I have right here. And even beyond that, they have so many different designs that are also available. And of course, you can even customize like shoe size and gender. You can even just beyond that. How about boot height? How about the type of toe? Soft toe, BRUNT toe, or even comp toe? How about, do you want them waterproof or not? How about, do you want the construction, cemented, welted, or how about USA welted? Or what about the heel? You want wedge or 90 degree, or even 6? For my flat foot people out there like me, or my wide foot people, you can even choose for your boot to come with either the two options, regular or wide. And again, this is per boot. This is the Marin boot. You get all of those customization options just with this boot alone. These are no doubt the most comfortable work boots I've ever worn, and they felt comfortable right out the box, like immediately. No long, painful break-in like all of the other brands. Usually, when you're getting boots, you sacrifice the comfort for durability, but BRUNT Workwear makes boots. They give you the best of both worlds. But they're not just comfortable, they're built to perform as well. If you're looking for the perfect boot, BRUNT Workwear has you covered. It's like asking the chef to make your favorite meal. And then when you scroll down after customizing and making your perfect boot, they have loads and loads of background information and details for each shoe. It's like the Carfax for each shoe, man. It's crazy. They're giving you the secret recipe. And even the guarantees are elite. Like, they have free shipping and exchanges. You can even try risk-free on the job. And we shouldn't even have to get to that point because my Marin boots had over 7,000 reviews on them before I even bought them. So now I already felt comfortable going into buying them. And those reviews were on point too. I love my boots and you will too. And as a matter of fact, I'm about to get another pair soon, man. I need a black pair to complete some of my other fits that I got in mind, that I got planned, especially as it started to get colder. And you can tell that BRUNT was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at BRUNT when you use code SCORE at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com, use the code SCORE, and you're good to go. And after you order, they'll ask you where you heard about BRUNT. Go ahead and do your boy StreetScores a favor and tell them that it was Rico from StreetScores that sent you. Now let's get back to the video. Now let's dive into how hurt the Cowboys are, man. So first of all, out of nowhere, Cowboys coach Brian Schottenheimer said that Trevon Diggs had an accident at his home the night before. So we're talking about, this came out yesterday, technically, October 17th. Apparently, the night of the 16th, he had an accident at home to where he suffered a concussion, and he's already been ruled out Sunday. I don't know what you could be doing at your house to end up with a concussion, but that is a scary situation, bro. So I don't know. Prayers to him. Hope he's okay. But Trevon Diggs is out versus us. So now, I mean, some people are questioning, you know, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel out, but now Trevon Diggs is out. Does that balance out? No, it does not. Because in my opinion, Diggs hasn't played well this season at all anyway. But then again, Terry hasn't played much of the season at all, so I don't know. But, like, if Terry McLaurin and Trevon Diggs were both healthy, I expect Terry McLaurin to eat up against Trevon Diggs. So both of those guys being out do not cancel out at all. If anything, we lose the most, because even if Trevon Diggs were healthy, I would still expect Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey to have pretty good games. Because, again, you have JD5 at quarterback, and Trevon Diggs just isn't that good. He's a risk taker. He'll get some interceptions, but also get obliterated in coverage. He'll allow 150 yards in one game to receivers, while also having an interception in that same game. That's just the type of guy that he is. And then, even scarier, Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb was a full participant in practice yesterday and is officially off the injury report. He will now make his return after missing a few weeks of football versus us. So CeeDee Lamb has missed the last few weeks, and now suddenly, when it comes to us, now suddenly he's available and ready to play again, bro. The timing couldn't have been any worse for us, bro. But look at their injury report right here. Again, Trevon Diggs is out. Also, their guard Trevor Keegan with the neck injury is also out. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. And then they also have a few questionables with guys that were limited all week or limited at the last second. Like, you have Jonathan Mingo that seems like he should be good to go because at least he participated in practice on Friday at full go. But Jonathan Mingo isn't that much of a threat. But then the guys that are questionable, even if they play, if they're banged up, you know, that's bad news for the Cowboys. Like cornerback Keelan Carson. You have tackle Johnny Cornelius. I think he's like one of the backup guys, but still. But Marshawn Nealon, you know, the defensive end, that could be pretty big. Defensive tackle Mozzie Smith with a sudden injury that came out of nowhere. And safety Juane Thomas, you know what I'm saying? They have some particular injuries right there, but for the most part, I would say that they are the healthier team compared to us, but they have their fair share of injuries as well. But still, at the end of the day, no excuses, bro. You have JD5. It looks like we're going to have to go out there and win a shootout. I'm not expecting this team to somehow be able to stop that Cowboys offense. If they couldn't stop the Bears offense, I don't know. I think this Cowboys offense is far more deadly, especially with CeeDee Lamb coming back. Jaden Daniels is just going to have to be Superman and put the team on his back. It's going to have to be a dominant run game, which we were expected to have against the Bears, but for some reason we didn't. And then it's also going to have to be JD5 working his magic with the receivers that he does have available, even if it is 50% strength Deebo Samuel. Now, before we go, I also have some other updates for you, including now we have Bob Myers going full-time working with Josh Harris. It was officially announced yesterday, again, as of October 17th at 8 p.m. actually, like pretty late. Adam Schefter announced former Golden State Warriors general manager Bob Myers, who of course helped us with the hiring process to get Adam Peters here as our general manager. He has now left his role as an ESPN basketball analyst to become president of sports for Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, giving him the ability to work across many of the world's top leagues. Myers now will work in a full-time role with the goal of maximizing opportunities and bolstering processes for a portfolio that includes the Devils of the NHL, the 76ers of the NBA, the Crystal Palace FC of the Premier League, and an investment in Joe Gibbs's Racing of NASCAR. Myers will also continue to support Josh Harris, the managing partner of the Washington Commanders. I mean, he's been there in like the tunnel after we've won games and stuff this season. So Bob Myers always has been around the team, but now that he's walking away from doing like basketball commentary and being an analyst and stuff like that for ESPN, now he's full-blown helping Josh Harris and the Commanders on the business side of things with whatever they need help with. So shouts out to Bob Myers, man. We'll take it. Let's go. Anything that can help. Yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Appreciate y'all for supporting every video. If you made it this far in the video, man, really appreciate you. If you're still watching me or if you're just listening to me, you just have your phone down somewhere or just in your pocket and you're just listening, still really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to my Watch to the End gang, man. And again, shouts out to the late night crew. Shouts out to my Noti gang as well. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about, most importantly, this Terry McLaurin situation. Like, do you feel like it's time to potentially shut him down for the season? Do you feel like it's that bad? Let me know how you feel about the Terry McLaurin situation, whatever thoughts you may have on that. If you agree or disagree with any of my points or any of the points that I brought up from other people. Also, let me know how you feel about this Deebo situation. How do you feel about this wide receiver situation overall? Do you think Treylon Burks has any chance to play against the Cowboys? Let me know how you feel about everything. The Cowboys injury situation with Javon Diggs out, but CeeDee Lamb coming back. Does that cancel out? Let me know how you feel about all of that in the comment section. Leave a like on the way out, and I appreciate y'all. I'm going to catch y'all later. I'm out.